I'm going to show you some weeds and the best way to pick them. We're going to start with the thistle. Now this guy is pretty infamous. He is something that you want to use a glove for, because even at this size, which is really not that big, he's still pretty pricky. You can get the small ones without gloves, but you go underneath and you want to dig a little bit. You really want to dig. Really get underneath for these thistles, because these thistles have really long roots. I'm not going to be able to get the entire root for this guy because he's actually too big. You want to get them when they're a lot smaller, but you pull directly up with a slight twist. Not too much twist or you'll twist it off, but just a bit of a twist. You grab again, and that's how you get the entire root. I actually got it. The entire root of thistle. So that was a successful one. I was really lucky. Very rarely that happens. So there's that. I'm going to take the glove off because that actually makes it harder to get the other weeds. This is another typical weed that you're going to find. So you just take it by the tip and pull. And this guy has a little bit less of a root on him. Now, depending on how firm your soil is, this soil has been tossed recently, so it's not too bad. Here's another one really common that you're going to see in the gardens. And so we're just going to pick it and pinch it. And these guys have different roots. It's going to feel different when it comes out because they're going to have a bunch of little guys. And they're going to be more along the surface, so they're easier to get. Whereas this guy right here is another pretty common one. I'm just going to grab him because he's right at the end here. Whoops. And I got a bit of the root. And I had to go grab for it because I cut it off. Now, what else do we have? We've got grasses. Now, grasses you want to get when they're young because it's a lot easier. Grasses are the best little growers ever, and they have a really big root system. Oops. Let's try this again. I got really lucky with the thistle. Hang on, I gotta get my groove going. Now, I'm doing this because there's nothing planted here. Don't do this if you've already planted. So, this piece of grass right there, I cut it off accidentally, and then I reached under and grabbed just basically the network of roots. That's all. I took the dirt off it. That's all roots. That's why weeds are gonna survive. It's great to get the weeds when they're young, but if you don't, that's totally fine. Your plants are gonna give your attention, and so they still are gonna grow, even if you don't get all the weeds out, but that's the root system of grass. Pretty cool, huh? Now, these little dudes are very young, but they're gonna get viney. I wanna show you some real vines later on these guys, but those are tiny little ones, and when you can get them, you kind of follow it to the main part, and then you get the root off. It's really more of going by feel. So for example, this guy, you don't just pull, you go down and down and down, and you see, oh, 1, 2, 3, there must be something there. Go right to it and up. And that's the most efficient way to do it. And really, it's not rocket science. You just start pulling. You really just start pulling. And that's a great way to just get a lot of the weeds out of your bed if it's been sitting for a while. It's just because if you can get the weeds out and cut the weed cycle, you're going to be weeding a lot less later on in the season. When you're going to get sick of this, you got other stuff that you want to do, like go to day camps and go to the beach and so on and so forth. So let's take a look at what else we got. Here's lots of weeds. Now, what's this? This is another thistle. He's not so well. I don't think he's a thistle, actually. We got grass, and we've got, again, twist, pull. That one's definitely not a thistle. The root is a lot smaller. Now, typical that what you're going to see in the community gardens in Brantford is lamb's quarter. Lamb's quarter is actually quite nutritious if you get it right, but make sure if you know what you're eating, don't eat something that you don't know. But if you're absolutely 100% sure and you're experienced, lamb's quarters are highly nutritious. This is what it is. It's beautiful, isn't it? Yeah, that's a weed. That'll take over for sure. They're pretty short. They can grow pretty tall, actually. If you've left it a long time, they can get super tall. So you just grab, they've got very shallow roots. Very shallow roots. And just grab and up. Tiny little roots. So lamb's quarters, as full of iron as they are, they're just a little shallow, and they are survivors. You're gonna find them and you're gonna be pulling them, to be sure. I think that's about it. Those are the most common weeds in the garden, and we'll probably do a part 2 when the weeds are a little bit bigger so you'd be able to recognize them. All right, happy weeding.